Hey there, Knicks fans. We are so excited to announce that Fanatics Fest is back in New York City this summer, taking over the Jacob Javits Center from Thursday, July 16th to Sunday, July 19th. You can meet your favorite athletes from every major league, including current Knicks like Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, and Karl Anthony Towns, and the legend, my guy, Patrick Ewing. Catch live podcasts and panels featuring some of the biggest names in sports, while experiencing interactive activations from top leagues and brands. You could also grab exclusive merch and discover one-of-a-kind memorabilia from sports and entertainment, buy, sell, and trade collectibles with hundreds of top dealers, and best of all, connect with fans from around the world who share your passion for sports. Tickets are on sale now at fanaticsfest.com, and when you use that promo code Knicks Film 10 at checkout, you will get 10% off your purchase. How about that? It's an extra day of the world's #1 sports fan festival coming together under one roof, and you will not want to miss it. Oh, boy. This tea makes it really hard to drink less, I will tell you. Just a little bit to get me through this one. Welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show, presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. I was thinking, as I was watching this one, which was a win. Let's get that out of the way. The Knicks did win the basketball game. And we are thankful for that, because you know what would have been worse than winning that game, losing that game. I was thinking as I was watching it, this game does not, before it was even over, this game does not deserve an actual opening monologue. So what I did, I think I did this in the middle of the second quarter. I made, shout out to David Letterman, I made a top 10 list of things that I would have rather watched than this basketball game. And I thought it would be in the spirit of the night, since I'm sure a lot of people decided to watch NCAA tournament action tonight. So I'm just going to go down the list. Number 10, Robert Randolph and the Family Band singing Friday Night Knicks on loop for 2.5 hours. Number 9, 2.5 hours worth of episodes of Cocomelon. Number 8, an Inez Cantor highlight tape. My favorite player. 7, Stephen A. Smith on First Take talking about literally anything. Number 6, a one-shot of Reggie Miller calling a Pacers game, solo announcing. Number 5, a 1-hour solo Bill Simmons pod narrating Jason Tatum's heroic return. Number 4, porn. Number 3, C-SPAN. Number 2, a senior citizen dance number at an NBA game. And then number 1, another Nets game. All would have been more preferable options to watching what was the most unserious basketball game, I would argue, of the season for the Knicks. I would love to sit here and give them some modicum of credit for like holding, big air quote energy here, holding the Nets to 92 points. It's like I try to bring parenting into these post games whenever I can. It's like it's like giving my now 5-year-old credit for not taking a piss in her overnight diaper. I mean, she's fucking 5 at this point. Like, you don't get a gold star, you don't get a high five, you don't get even any commendation. It's all right. That's one night in a row. Let's see if we can make it 2 nights in a row tomorrow. That's about the level of credit that I want to give the Knicks for, again, air quotes, holding the Nets to 92 points tonight. That Nets team is an atrocity against humanity. Truly, just some horrendous. I mean, they scored 24 points in the first half against the Oklahoma City Thunder the other night. that was, I don't know if they might have scored fewer points if they were playing a G League team. But whatever. So there's that. And then there's whatever that game was on offense. I will go and just read some numbers because I like numbers. Numbers are fun. Numbers make me feel safe. So Knicks shot 41% from the field in this game, 28% from deep. They had, I believe the final total was 22 turnovers. I'll double check that right now. 22 turnovers. That's a season high. And they're very lucky. Again, they were playing the Nets. Nets only scored 23 points off of those 22 turnovers. Oh, and because of those turnovers, the Nets actually got 10 more shots. So, you want to talk about ways to lose a basketball game. Give up 37% from three to the team you're playing, only shoot 28% from three, and then give up 10 more shots because you turn the ball over 22 times. So how did they win? Well, they won by getting to the free throw line. And they missed 9 free throws, including 3 late that I have a feeling we'll probably mention. But they hit 23 from the line. Nets only hit 10, and there's your ball game. So I don't know what to do with this one. I'm obviously annoyed. I'm not gonna lose. I'm more getting it out now because I actually don't think we need to make a bigger deal out of this one than it is, which is like it's what is it? It's March 20th. They got one more game against one more tanking team, and then they'll have 10 games left for the quote unquote stretch run. And what am I supposed to go crazy because the team looked like they had never played with each other on offense tonight? Yeah, fine. We've been there. We've done that. I was at first at the start of this game, I was getting ready for this to be yet another diatribe on the starting lineup and what the hell is wrong with the starting lineup. And it wasn't the starting lineup. It was pretty much the whole team on offense with some notable exceptions that we'll get to. But I don't know where to start tonight other than with Jalen Brunson. We could, to start on a positive note in terms of going through the players, again, would feel a little disingenuous. There were actually some really nice performances. I thought Mitchell Robinson had an outstanding game from an effort standpoint, certainly. And I thought he was the best defender on the team for most of the night, not all of it. He had some miscues, but then again, so did everybody. Jordan Clarkson, yet another game where he gave them great energy. And Karl-Anthony Towns, is his night is going to be soured a little bit by those 2 missed free throws at the end, which gave the Nets a chance. I thought it was at times a silly game from Karl-Anthony Towns. It reminded me actually of the sort of cat game that we would have seen last year, where some very, very good offensive contributions, but there was some also, 4 turnovers. Some of those were just like, why are you throwing that pass and things of that nature. But for the most part, Cat, very positive force tonight, and that's probably the extent of the, shout outs for positive reasons. Up until he hit those last 2 shots at the end, which granted the Knicks were down, and then Brunson 2 straight shots, and then nice pick and roll with Karl-Anthony Towns to get Cat a good look at the hoop to put the Knicks up by 5. Up until that, I thought this was the worst offensive game that I had seen Jalen Brunson play as a Knick. And I feel like that's not the first time I've said that this year, which is probably a little concerning that this is a sort of this is a descriptor that I have used more than once for a player that we've kind of held up as like not infallible, but like, oh, it's Jalen. If he has a bad game, he's going to bounce back. And I still do feel that way. But like in the fourth quarter, Jalen Brunson couldn't get the ball up the court. He was just having trouble crossing midcourt in a timely fashion. And I understand the Nets were doing some things defensively that he's going to see and has seen a lot in terms of like whether it's putting 2 on him or just aggressive coverage and like lots of and showing a lot in help and just like taking away the driving lanes and taking away the passing lanes. But we have seen Jalen Brunson against aggressive coverage before. This is not the first time or the second time or the 10th time or the 50th time he has faced a defense that was trying, different ways to stop him and being really aggressive in their coverage against him. I don't know that I've ever seen him be as ineffective against aggressive coverage as he was tonight. And like, look, he missed the game on Tuesday and everybody kind of just figured, all right, Jalen just needs a night off. It's not, it's not a big deal. He it's late in the year. Good job getting him a night off. He deserves it. He's been doing yeoman's work, the whole thing. But now when he goes out there tonight, I mean, and look, he wasn't on the injury report. And it makes me wonder what's up, because the guy that we watched out there like that, I mean, just, I don't know how else to say that. That's not Jalen Brunson. That's not any version of the Jalen Brunson and it's crazy. I just looked at the minute. Jalen Brunson played 41 minutes tonight, which probably tells you as much about Jose Alvarado's night as it does about Jalen Brunson's night. Alvarado took a step back after what was a very positive evening for him against the Pacers the other night, to the point that obviously Mike Brown felt the need to play Jalen Brunson 41 minutes. And I'm just seeing some quotes here, or a quote from Mike Brown. It's courtesy of Stephen Bondi. Jordy outcoached me. They outplayed us in a lot of areas. You could say that again. I mean, good on him for taking it on himself. But yeah, I didn't know who I was watching, basically, in that game, wearing a number 11 jersey. Needless to say, Jalen Brunson, if the Knicks want to have any chance of doing anything, he can't look like that. But of course, a game like that doesn't just happen because of only Jalen Brunson. What made that the silliest game of the year and the most unserious game of the year was that they managed to be very silly and unserious in waves. They were unserious out of the gate, going 4 of 19 from the field in the first quarter and committing nine first quarter turnovers. Again, if they had played 25 other teams in the league, they're down, and they played like that, they're down 35 to, 12. But of course, who they were playing factors into how they came out and play, because this team is not above playing with their food. We've seen that against Indiana. We've seen that against Utah. We've seen that against other teams recently. So, they were down by as many as 13 points. There was that silliness. There was the fact that they went up by 14 in the fourth quarter after they actually put together a solid stretch, spurred by who else but Jordan Clarkson, of solid basketball. Jordan Clarkson and Cat, in fairness, those two. They played like whatever it was, 5, 6, 7 minutes of competent basketball, and they were up by 14 in the snap of a finger. And then they proceeded to give up a 17-0 run. So then there was that silliness. And then the silliness at the end, having a 5-point lead with whatever it was, 20 seconds remaining or so. Why they just allowed an absolutely uncontested layup was beyond me. And then, of course, the 3 missed free throws. So just silliness up and down. And, a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about for this team recently it popped up in this game. Mikal Bridges, 3 of 7, of about as quiet a 9 points as you could have. Had 8 rebounds. He had his couple of nice defensive plays. He took it to the rim a couple times early. It seemed like he was making a point to do that. And yet, when you trade for Mikal Bridges, I have to think part of the reason you trade for a guy like that is with games like this in mind. A game where, okay, our number 1 doesn't have it. Cat's doing what he can as your number 2. I understand they got Mikal before Cat, but like whatever, Julius, whoever your number 2 is. Your number 2 is going to be your number 2, but someone else needs to step up. And Mikal Bridges is supposed to be the guy who's the secondary playmaker, and you can put the ball in his hands to make plays and maybe run an occasional pick and roll. And you didn't get any of that tonight. You just didn't. That's not it's like he ceased to become that guy that he was a year ago. It was only a year ago when Jalen Brunson went out for a month, and it kind of turned into Point Bridges, for a lot of that time and for a lot of their best games. So I don't know where that guy went. Obviously wasn't there tonight. OG, the one thing about OG, you never have to worry about him being bashful. He took his 13 shots, cold from 3. He's allowed to have an off night from 3. It happens. I did think the 1-3 that he did hit was an important one. And OG got into it with, what was it, 3 techs in this game. Cat got one, Mitch got one, and OG got one, getting into that scuffle with Clarkson. So, I guess that's nice. Just unserious game. I don't really know what more we need to say about this one other than the fact that it was completely unserious from the start. They got serious for about as long as they absolutely needed to get serious to come away with the win. And I just hope that Jalen Brunson is okay. And that whatever is, at this, I'll be interested. Because here's the thing about Jalen. Jalen is never, if Jalen can walk, like he said it, if I could walk, I could play. Obviously, he played 41 minutes tonight and he could walk, so he played. But I wonder how much, because he hit his 65 games tonight. I wonder how many games he will play down the stretch of the season. I wonder how hard they will go for wins down the stretch. Boston was down for much of tonight against the Memphis Grizzlies. They ended up coming back and getting a nice win over Memphis in Memphis. So, that lead remains at whatever that lead is. Detroit won again. That's 2 straight wins. They beat the Wizards the other night. Now they beat the Warriors. I never for a second after the Cade injury and prayers up to Cade, quick recovery, the whole thing, but not for 1 millisecond did I think the 1 seed, even after that injury was announced, did I think the 1 seed was in play. It just was unrealistic to think that this Detroit team was going to fold in that nature, and they'll get more wins. I know they have some, mostly tough games coming up, but they'll get more wins. And so it really just comes down to, do you catch Boston? Do you want to catch Boston? Is there, I wonder, is there some sentiment in this, in the organization to falling down to 4th? I know that's not how the Knicks do things. But lots to still be determined. Whatever it is, you'd like ideally to not see too many more games like this down the stretch. I get it. It's March. The NBA season is a marathon, not a sprint. It is a war of attrition. And, you can't, we can't sit here and I know I've killed them a lot tonight. I get it. I've killed them a lot. And I probably killed them honestly too much, because if you get a win in the NBA, and you're in a race and you're a team that has as many wins as the Knicks, and they have a lot of wins, like this, I think was win 46 for them tonight. Like, look, they got their 46th win, whatever, St. Paddy's Day week. That's really good. And before you're gonna, completely kill them for whatever it was that we saw tonight, go. Again, I know the Rockets won tonight, but go talk to our Rockets fan. Go talk to our Nuggets fan. After they lost to Memphis the other night and are struggling right now against Toronto. You could talk to a Timberwolves fan for some of the losses they've had. You could talk to a freaking Cavs fan. Some of the losses they have, the Magic lost by 8,000 points to Charlotte last night. This is the sort of year or sort of time of year where you're going to get, performances that are not indicative of what a team is capable of. And oh, by the way, we should probably mention Josh Hart didn't play tonight. Just throwing that out there. Nor did Deuce McBride. We hope he is on his way back. It seems like he is. Josh, obviously, I think is going to be fine, but Glad they got the win on a night that Josh Hart didn't play. And you really do, I guess I'll end the monologue with that. This is a sort of game where you probably would have liked to have a Josh Hart, on your bench or in your starting lineup or wherever to come in and just bring that certain something that only he could bring. And hopefully he is fine and everything. He'll get back soon. I think that's it. Speaking of the Timberwolves, they lost to the Blazers tonight. So, yeah, again, I know no Ant, but at home to Portland. So, yeah, a lot of teams going through it right now. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, let us Okay, hold on. I'm gonna filibuster for a sec because we got to get our best bets graphic up here. That's fine. I could talk about what can I talk about? Oh, you know what? Perfect opportunity. It's great, but you know what? It's too late. Now you gave me an excuse to wax poetic about the one guy that I wanted to wax poetic about tonight, and that's Jordan Clarkson. I know he was a -10. I know he was only 2 of 5 from the field, but I thought the game should have turned for good. I know that's went on that long run. The game should have turned for good when they started going on that long run. I think it was an 11-0 run, end of the third quarter, and it started with a Clarkson 3 and a Clarkson dime to OG Anunoby. Clarkson had another steal, or a big steal at the top of the fourth quarter. He drew an offensive foul fighting around the screen. I would be remiss not to point out that yet again, the guy who was buried on the bench and who would have had every excuse to kind of mail in the rest of the season as far as his attitude and his willingness to continue to stay ready and be prepared, is the guy who, now night after night after night is just making winning plays for you. So wanted to make sure I gave a special shout out to Jordan Clarkson because he deserves it. On a night when, again, a lot of his teammates didn't necessarily bring that same level of fire and desire, to quote his head coach. Okay. Now we'll do best bets presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. So we'll go through these starting with Jeff took Mohamed Diawara over 6.5 points. Love where Jeff was going with this, thinking that this was going to be a blowout win. Well, little did we know, not only was it not a blowout win, but Mohamed Diawara was in this game very late. I thought it was interesting. So we should also mention Shamet. It had some kind of injury, was questionable to return, did not return to the game. So I know Josh Hart, again, no deuce. So had Alvarado in there late as the quote unquote fifth starter. And then he replaced him with Diawara, which I was like, man, talk about believing in your rookie. Well, he kind of paid off tonight. I thought Diawara had one horrendous stretch that he seems to have one of these, every game, horrendous rookie stretch, where he missed OG wide open under the hoop and then had a terrible turnover dribbling the ball and then a goaltend. But scored 8 points, 2 of 4 from 3, made both his free throws. So good job, Jeff. Sean with a W. Mikal Bridges over 20.5 points, rebounds, and assists. So Bridges did have 8 rebounds to go with his 9 points. So that's 17. And then 18, 19, the 2 assists. Falls 1.5 short. Look, he could add some more assists. Brunson missed some good looks off of passes from Mikal Bridges, but could have helped himself a little bit more by making more than 3 field goals. So tough beat for Sean. And then Andrew goes over Jordan Clarkson, 1.5 threes. This was a tough beat because Clarkson only attempted 2 threes, did make one, the one I mentioned. It was a big one. It should be worth 2. In our hearts, it was worth 2. But alas, we go 1 for 3. Here is the good news. Some lucky person who put at least a $10 wager on our official Knicks Film School Best Bets Parlay, which you could find in the Fanatics Sportsbook before every Knicks game. Some lucky person is going to win $100 in fan cash because for every remaining regular season game, if you tail our Best Bets Parlay with it has to be at least a $10 bet. That's all, 10 little measly dollars. You're entered to win $100 in fan cash. Thanks again to our friends at Fanatics Sportsbook. So even when we don't win, like we did not hit our parlay tonight, someone out there will win. And I, again, we're getting the kinks out now. I feel it. We're getting 2 or 3 of these parlays down the stretch. I know it. The only reason we didn't get this parlay is because I was not making a pick in it. But that will be rectified on Sunday because I'm going to make a pick on Sunday. So there you go. Shout out to Fanatics Sportsbook for that. Okay. I think that's it. Let's see what people want to talk about. Oh, yes. And tonight is Chat of the Night. Of course, tonight's Chat of the Night. It's Friday. Thank you, Mark. Who's better than Mark? Mark Roskus to the rescue. So, yes, we will give away $25 in Fanatics fan cash to a Chat of the Night. So I hope you guys get creative. Maybe I'll have to pour myself some more bourbon. We'll see. Hush Zoo starts us off. I have a feeling this is not going to be positive. Uncomfortable question from Hush Zoo. Hart is the usual scapegoat with the starter slow starts. Not here. He's not. I don't know what you're listening to. Not scapegoating in this department. Just throwing it out there. Yeah, you might want to check your podcast feed. I don't know. Anyway, but how much is this on JB? At the end of the day, you like that, Mark? At the end of the day, the ball is in his hands 80%. Here's what I'll say to that. I think trying to blame Jalen Brunson in the way that you're trying to blame Jalen Brunson, tonight aside, because he was just terrible, is incorrect. What I think part of the problem is, and I've said versions of this now for a while, and it was kind of what I was like getting at last year, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And I think I'm pretty well settled on this now. They just don't play free and easy out of the gate because I think it's a combination of guys trying to do what they think that they're supposed to do. Because like everybody is aware, it's like, okay, we're all out here right now. I'm out here, I'm not going to speak as anyone in particular, but like, let's say it's OG. It's like, all right, I'm out here, JB's out here, Cat's out here. So maybe is OG thinking, all right, well, am I getting my shots with this group of guys out here? And JB's out there thinking like, all right, well, I gotta make sure guys, everybody, I'm here with OG, I'm here with Cat, I'm here with McCall, I'm here with Jeff. Gotta make sure everybody gets their shots. And then Cat's like, all right, I know it's not really my time yet. My time's at the top of the second quarter. So like, and I just think, and then you combine that with Mikal Bridges kind of always being tentative by nature. And then you have Josh Hart, who's like, well, what am I supposed to do if I've been told shoot it if they leave me open, which is why how many first quarters have we seen this year where like Josh Hart has the most shots through the first X number of minutes of the game. And Josh Hart is involved in like by far the most, actions, in the first 5 minutes of the game. So you have all of these guys who are all, they know they're good enough to be, whether it's a number 2 on a team or a number 3 on a team, whatever it is. And everybody's trying to make the right play and nobody's trying to take the bad shot. And I just, here's what I'll say. If you have Cat and OG and Bridges and Hart on the floor, is there an argument that a pass first point guard would be maybe would help loosen those guys up? Yeah, probably. And I don't even want to describe, that's the wrong word, but like, someone who was out there, like that's all they want to do. They just want to pass, and that's not JB. JB is out there. He's a scorer. And that's why I think, you've seen games this year where JB looks tentative, or not as it's not that he's not as assertive, but it's like, he's almost like, he's kind of like walking on eggshells out there. And then the second you see Cat and OG go to the bench, it's like, all right, now I don't have to fucking worry about anything anymore. Now I just get to shoot. So I don't know. I've been saying it for a year or 14 months now. Something about the starting 5 doesn't make sense. They're not benching JB. They're not benching Cat. They're not benching OG. So I don't think benching Josh Hart's going to do a blessed thing. And frankly, the more I think about it, I don't think benching Bridges is going to do anything. But we'll see. Thanks, Hush. Bill Peterfriend, what's going on, Bill? The inability to pull away from bad teams is concerning. Can they really turn it on? I mean, again, this is the same team that has had really, really, really impressive wins this season recently, against good. I mean, again, everybody's blowing smoke up the Spurs ass like we handled them. I know. It was a day game in in New York City, so they all showed up high on cocaine, right? That's why they lost. No, this team handled the Spurs. They handled the Nuggets in Denver with Aaron Gordon, by the way. Which I think is notable. Like, they've had other very solid wins this year. It's like, we know this team could turn it on. We also know that they're incredibly inconsistent. Inconsistency is just part of their DNA. I think you just hope that when they get to the playoffs, the foolishness stops, and it's not that they hit the play better button. It's just like they're they're serious all the time. That's all you need. Thanks, Bill. Matt G, team is not serious and the offense is awful, parentheses JB. Yeah, I mean, JB was awful tonight. But JB has played, how many games has Jalen Brunson played with the Knicks? Tonight was his 274th game with the Knicks, or 275th game with the Knicks. I would say this was, for me, the worst I've ever seen him. I don't think that means the offense is awful. I think it means they were awful tonight. You don't get to a third-ranked offense. Let me just say, I'll say this: does the the fact that they have the third-ranked offense mask some very serious offensive deficiencies and offensive inconsistencies? Absolutely. Have they beaten up and scored a bajillion points against some terrible teams over the course of the year? Yes. Like, their offense is not as good, and let me rephrase that. Their offense is not as consistent as you would expect a third-ranked offense to be. And I would also say that their offense is more dependent on three-point shooting than a third-ranked offense is supposed to be. Are they an unserious team? I don't know. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. It was an unserious night. I'll say that. Thanks, Matt. Okay. Hush with another one. Man, Brunson makes it so much harder than it needs to be. Why is he holding the ball for the whole shot clock and throwing grenades? Yeah, he had a couple of great grenades tonight. I factored those in when calling his performance out like I did. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm being a Brunson apologist. God knows I've done it before. I admittedly stand for the guy, like, in a way that I have not stand for any player of my adult life. I will always find excuses for him, and I will find reasons to give him the benefit of the doubt. I was watching a guy tonight that did not look like he was physically correct. So I don't know if that's it. Again, I know he missed the last game with whatever it was, ankle something or other, and neck cervical some shit. Like, I don't remember much from my old lawyering days, but I know that when you got something going on in your cervical spine, it's generally not good. And it makes everything kind of tougher. And this is actually, though, something I've been thinking about recently, not to get like really depressive, but Jalen Brunson, he's obviously on the verge of 30. He turns 30 this summer. It's not like, he's he has the fountain of youth in his backyard. Like, the length of time that he's going to continue to be Jalen Brunson, I don't know how much longer that is. So it really does put the onus on this team to, give this thing their best shot this year. Not to say that they weren't already doing that. They were, but like, you know, he's a little guy, takes a fucking beating because of how he plays. Took a charge tonight, legal eating charge. Yeah, I don't know. And I hope he, if it does start to fall off for him, I'm sure he'll be able to morph into kind of a different phase. We'll see, how the team looks around him, assuming he's here. But yeah. Thanks, Hush. I am AK Legend. What's going on? I am AK Brown, meaning Mike Brown. I need you to tell this team to start playing serious. I'm sick of this. But congrats on the win. 500 if you get it, but get serious. Well, they got it. So good job by Mike Brown. 500 wins. I think what they say, 10th fastest to get to 500 wins. Look, Mike Brown's a good coach. I appreciate the fact that he said after the game that he was outcoached by Jordy Fernandez. I don't put this game on Mike Brown even a little bit. Like, look, this Knicks team is going to show up and compete, or they're not going to show up and compete. Tonight, they did not really show up and compete. Here's another quote from Mike Brown's from SNY. Our rotations weren't good. There were a couple of times that we stopped playing, I think, trying to get to them. Yeah, like that's the thing is there were a lot of really poor defensive possessions tonight, and the Nets just like had open shots that missed. And then he said also, I thought we were lackadaisical with the basketball. What gave that away? And then shout out to Kat's dad also, I should have noted. And Kat kind of alluded to this at the end of the game, but like apparently maybe something was up with his dad. So shout out to Mr. Towns. All right. Shrewd, clever brick. What's going on? Instead of the cup final, can this game be erased from history? Starting 5, early deficit again. 5 shot clock violations shouldn't be possible. Absurd. And I don't know if every one of those was with Brunson in the game. I don't think everyone was with Brunson in the game. I'd have to go back and see. A lot of them were with Brunson in the game. You're the point guard, and again, he dribbled the ball a ton tonight. But again, I'm just going to go back to what I said at the top. Like how many it really felt like he needed the full 8 seconds to get the ball up the court. And then once he got up the ball, once he crossed the half court line, and then it's like, all right, well now you got to get into your set. And it's like they were getting into their actions with like single digits on the freaking clock. That's not great. That's not great. There was just there was no urgency. There wasn't a lot of ball movement. I mean, there wasn't a lot of player movement. Like, when did the ball, like, there was like that one possession that sticks out in my mind. There was one possession, like at the end of the third quarter. I forget who ended up scoring. Might have been Towns, where the ball really like whipped around. But again, you could count the amount of really high quality offensive possessions on like one hand in that game, which is so rare. Because how many times this year have I sat here and talked about how you could count the amount of poor attempts? Not say they missed every shot or made every shot, but like you could count the amount number of really poor attempts on one hand. That's what this offense does. If they embrace the offense, it gets you good shots. And look, I'm probably overstating it. Like they had a lot of decent looks that missed, but no, there was a lack of verve tonight, and it starts with Jalen for sure. TJ 2K's burner. What's going on? This team is playing like a first round exit at the moment. Look, if you just want to go through their recent games, we could do it just really quick right now. So it's funny that we're talking about this and they've won 5 in a row. But like, if they play like they did tonight, if they play like they did against Indiana, if they come out like they came out in the first half or the first 15 minutes against Golden State, previous game against Indiana, same thing, came out like they did against Utah. I mean, really, you could honestly just go back to the 2 LA games. They have not looked good, really, even though they've won 5 in a row. They have not looked good since the Denver game. Is that a result of They beat San Antonio. They were right there against OKC on a night they couldn't hit anything. And then they whooped Denver in Denver. And they kind of looked at themselves and they were like, all right, we're good. We know we could do it. Now let's just get to the playoffs healthy and try to conserve some energy. I have no idea. I truly have no idea. Asking me to peer into this team's psyche is like asking me, to it's like peering into the void. It's nothingness. There are no answers. Do I think that they're going to come out in the first round and look like they have in the last 2 weeks or whatever it's been? No, I don't. I don't. Not for a second. But, it's, this is in their DNA. So you just hope it's not a very big strand. Or I don't know how DNA works, but you get it. Shrewd, clever brick. And why was JB in for the final defensive possession? I have no idea. I saw that and I was like, why? I mean, I was like, is he like, well, we know JB's not going to foul because he's a smart player? Or was he thinking if JB gets a steal and they foul him, like, he's, you want him taking the free throw? I didn't get that at all. I was like, I mean, you got Alvarado right there on your bench. Like, if you didn't get Alvarado for this instance, like, why do you have? It was very confusing to me. Very confusing. I don't know. I'm glad it didn't cost them. Next up, David Crockett. What's going on, David? The frightening thing coming out of this is the offense versus half-court traps. Yeah, 100%. The first pass out to non-Hart is or the first pass out to not Hart is not punishing the 5-on-4. It's David Crockett. You've won many unofficial chat of the nights over the years. You're the early front runner for our chat of the night here, because you bring up something that is you said the quiet part out loud, which is that when you assemble a starting lineup where you have guys making the money that these guys are making. McCall is a $40 million a year player. OG is a $40 million a year player. Karl Anthony Towns is a $60 million a year player. And yet, the guy that you trust the most to make plays in those scenarios is the little old $19 million a year player who can't shoot. Except that he can shoot because he's shooting the hell lights out of the ball this year, but we won't go there. And it, like, none of OG or McCall or Cat is particularly good in the scenarios that you're talking about, where you have confidence in them to be able to execute in a short roll scenario. So you're talking about 5-on-4. It's 4-on-3, obviously, because if you got the two on the ball. And also the other part of it, and look, this is, again, I can't put lipstick on this pig as much as I want to defend Jalen Brunson. I've said this before. The fact that Jalen Brunson is 6'0". I know he's listed at 6'2". He's 6'0". The fact that you can put two big bodies on him, it doesn't mean that he can't get the ball out when you give him that level of attention, but it is that much tougher for him to do so, and it gives the defense behind him that much of an opportunity to recover. And oftentimes what happens is where you have the guy in the outlet position where they can actually do damage where they are, but that person will need to retreat to an area on the court that is easier for Jalen Brunson to make that pass out of the scenario. And then by the time, and at that position, and sometimes it's maybe a looping pass, like it's not an easy pass to make. So, and by the time that person gets the basketball, the advantage is gone. And that's why that's yet another, forget about all the fucking hustle plays and the rebounding and all that stuff. That's as good a reason why Josh Hart is so important to this team. To say nothing of the fact that, like, and how about this? Something we heard a lot about before the year. Oh, well, Jalen Brunson's not going to bring the ball up now all the time. Now Mike Brown's going to be the coach. So why was JB always bringing up the ball? Well, can somebody else bring up the ball now? Where has that gone? Remember Mikal Bridges bringing the ball up a ton at the beginning of the year? How often is Mikal Bridges bringing the ball up? Oh, wait a minute. That's because when he does bring the ball up, a lot of times he has trouble getting it across half court in a timely fashion. So I don't want to pile on Bridges here, but like that was supposed to be part of Bridges' ascendant role on this team under this head coach. It has not transpired that way, and I don't really blame the head coach. So, it does require more heart. And I'll absolutely say the name that, again, a lot of people want in Hart's place or maybe in Bridges' place, whatever, is Deuce McBride. I think Deuce McBride helps here. I know we talk about Deuce. He's a small wing. He's not a point guard. Yes, but he could also handle the basketball, and he could help you in this particular scenario that I'm outlining here. So it's a great job by you, David, pointing that out. And it is the quiet, it's like the carbon dioxide, right? It's like it's the silent killer with this offense. And there are ways that they can make up for it, and there are ways that they can combat it, so to speak, and utilize other strengths of theirs. But like you talk about, you hear coaches talk about, like, yeah, we throw different stuff at Jalen Brunson. This is one of the things you could throw at him. Hush Zoo with another one. What's going on again? Hush. The win streak makes me feel nothing because I take nothing away from these games that we should be teams from that we should be obliterating. I don't care if I'm too negative. G League teams. Nothing is too strong for it's. Look, you do what you want. I made a promise before the year. I'm going to enjoy every win. Believe it or not, I know it doesn't sound like it. I'm enjoying this win. And you know why I'm enjoying this win? Because I know how I would feel if they lost. If they lost this fucking game, this would be one of the games where it's only happened a handful of times this year. Only a handful of times, if that. But this would have been a loss where I would have woken up tomorrow morning, and I've described the feeling before, and I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. It is the first thought in your brain when you wake up the next morning, loss. Where it's like you're not thinking about what you have to do that day. You're not thinking about anything else that happened during the week. The first thought when you open your eyes is, I can't believe they. And you know what it is? Because there's a split second, you're like, did I dream that they lost that game? And then you're like, nope, they actually lost it. This would have been one of those losses. And now I don't have to do that. Now when I wake up tomorrow morning, I'm going to be like, oh, thank God they won. And I'm going to have a smile on my face. Did whether they won or lost this game, materially, if they had lost this game, would that have been any different in terms of like forecasting what they are, what they aren't, than the fact that they won the game? No, but at the same time, we could go the step further. And this is the part that I think I struggle with. And I know I'm not the only one who struggles with this. Like, should this game tell us anything about who this team is as a team? And should the last 5 games tell us, or 7 games, I guess, tell us anything about who this team is as a team? Because we have seen them play so much better, and we have seen them be so consistent. And this is the part that I will kind of push back on, Hush. At the end of the day, it is important to get the win, and again, I'm not going to go through the litany of teams that are competing for real stuff at this point in the year, and teams that people have attempted to call contenders at different points this year, who have not won games of this nature against these stinky teams. So, like, just I would tread lightly where you're going there, for as much as I understand where you are coming from. Thanks. Squirtin' Dirt, my favorite little avatar, whatever that thing is. That made me think of the movie The Deer Hunter. It just got sadder and sadder. Mamma Mia. Mamma Mia, also a very sad movie. I know it's not actually a sad movie, but like the thought of watching Mamma Mia right now makes me very sad. Yeah, or if you want to go Hamnet's another one, although that ends on an uplifting note, so I guess maybe that's not the best one. I saw this is actually a good comp. I saw the movie Undertone this week. It's a new horror movie that I went and checked out. And very horrifying, very unsettling. And I would put this Knicks game right up next to that one. Strongly recommend for anybody thinking of seeing it. Thanks, Squirtin' Dirt. Kevin Anishevsky, what's going on, Kev? Not losing sleep over this one. I'm sure there's a lot of people who feel like Kevin, too. Only long-term concern is Mikal Bridges. Rough end, but Cat was awesome. Yeah, he was awesome when he was awesome. He was not awesome for like the entirety of the game, but he was mostly awesome. I'll give him that. JB settled in. Mitch was everywhere, and prayers to Cat Senior. Yeah, I hope Cat's okay. Cat Senior is okay, and you know, one of the things I admire about Karl-Anthony Towns is that he has his priorities in order. And that dude, you know, very clearly, like, his family is like just means a lot to him. And, you know, it's admirable because I get it. You know, I don't get it like a professional athlete gets it, but like, you know, when you're a part of something that you feel like is like, you know, quote unquote important, and it's a very slippery slope, and you know, but he has his priorities in order, which I always think is very cool. Long-term concern, Mikal Bridges. Kev, here's what I'm going to say to that. Well, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I also have concerns about Mr. Bridges. Here's what I'm going to say. So I checked out. I did not finish the pod because I just, how do I say this kindly? I thought I was like, yeah, I'm not getting any more value out of this. I listened to like the first half of the Worst Contracts pod that Simmons did with Waz and Big Waz and Joe House, and just because I needed something to listen to, and I was like, fine, I was like, you know, more for entertainment, and of course Mikal Bridges got drafted, and it, for some reason, like, that was the first time, not that the first time it dawned on me. Like, I obviously know what Mikal Bridges was traded for. I know how much money Mikal Bridges makes, but it was the first time it dawned on me, like, oh yeah, a guy that just signed a 4-year, I forget, is this 4-year extension or 3-year, whatever, an extension that pays him $40 million a year. Like, he probably shouldn't be averaging 7 points over any 8-game span. Like, unless his name is Rudy Gobert and there's only one Rudy Gobert, that should not happen. Here we go. 4 years, 150 million. Thank you. So, little under 40 a year, actually. So let's thank God for that. But yeah, you know, it's just like, I don't, and that's what I mean when I push back on people who try to prop up Bridges and try to act and and say that the criticism is too harsh because of all the other things that he does to help you win basketball games. There has to be more consistency on the offense from an offensive impact standpoint. You cannot tell me that this is okay. And if you're going to be like, well, that's why he's a role player. Role players aren't going to give you consistent offensive production all the time. Yeah, okay, that's fine. But when you're paying your role player almost $40 million a year, part of the reason why he's that in that tax bracket, as opposed to, you know, I hate to do this, But like Landry Shamet is making the minimum. Landry Shamet does a lot of little things well. Not as good as Mikal Bridges, but does a lot of little things well. He's not the physical specimen Mikal Bridges is. Doesn't do as many little things. But like if Landry Shamet goes through a 10-game stretch where he's putting up the offensive production that Mikal Bridges has put up over his 8 games. 8 games. Not 10 games, 8 games. You'd be like, well, you know what? That's what you're going to get on a minimum contract. It's really hard to find role players on minimum contracts who are going to be consistent game in and game out. You could even say the same thing about a guy who you sign on a mid-level exception. $14 million a year. Well, that's tough. You're not going to. That's why they're there. That's why they're available for that amount of money. $40 million a year, man. Eight points a game over an eight game stretch. It's substandard. It's substandard. It's not okay. And he needs to have a big playoffs. Like Jalen Brunson, man, he's earned his keep. Karl-Anthony Towns, I've given Karl-Anthony Towns more shit than Julius, more shit than RJ, more shit than anyone. He's already earned his keep. OG's earned his keep. Go on down the road. Josh Hart. Josh Hart's earned his keep. I'm sorry. Do not give me 2 fucking blocks or blocking a steal, 2 defensive plays against Boston and say that Mikal Bridges has earned his keep because it's not true. It's not fair. I need more. And I need it in the fucking playoffs, man. You want to keep shooting like this bullshit for the next 11 games? Have at it. Turn it on April, whatever day the playoffs start, April 17th. Thanks, Kev. Shaq the Great. Easy victories are for suckers. This is a good one. We'd rather get it out of the mud. Hashtag Knicks in 7 in every series. Listen, you could tell me the Knicks go 7 in every series they play, and I'd absolutely believe it. And to the gentleman who said, what they said about them being a first round out. I don't think they're a first round out. But like, you look at some of these teams. I know Atlanta's winning streak ended tonight, and it kind of ended with a thud. But like, Atlanta, you know what the thing is about Atlanta? Like, they put up a ton of threes, and their 3-point percentage is actually very high, which doesn't make sense logically because you're like, wait a minute. They start Jalen Johnson, who's not really a 3-point shooter. They start Dyson Daniels, who's like the least threatening perimeter offensive player in the league. And yet they have a lot of guys who could move with the ball in their hands. Like Nickeil Alexander-Walker has some like backup point guard-ishness to him. Obviously, CJ, Jalen Johnson's out there averaging almost a freaking triple-double. So they like move the ball. CJ could shoot the lights out of it. Who am I forgetting in their I'm forgetting someone notable in their starting 5. No, I'm not. It's CJ. It's Jalen. It's Dyson. It's a con. Oh, they have a stretch 5. Talk about the power of a stretch 5. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and the Kuminga thing is an interesting thing too. So they're a team. I could see them pushing anybody, to 7 games in the first round. Charlotte, I mean, that what they've done speaks for itself. If Philly ever gets healthy, Miami, like these are real teams. So, thanks, Shaq. Sam G. What the fuck was that? I have no idea, Sam. No idea. Your guess is as good as mine. Rob Delusma. Inexcusable, JM. I know a win's a win, but they should have stomped these bums by 40. Hashtag let's go Knicks. Yeah, no, there's no like that Nets team. And you know what? You know what the worst part is? Freaking Evan Roberts. Shout out to Evan. Came on. We recorded that pod at 7:30 in the morning. Shout out to Andrew also for thinking up a great idea. We had a lot of fun doing the former Knicks and Nets draft. Strongly recommend everybody check that out. It was a good pod. And And freaking Evan Roberts, I guarantee you, he's happy as a pig in shit tonight because his team, his bunch of rookies and no names, freaking Josh Minot, why not, right? Put a scare into the big bad Knicks, and they still didn't cost themselves any lottery balls. What a great night if you're one of the 87 Net fans out there. So that's the worst part of it, you know? It really is. Thanks, Rob. Okay, we're going to do our we're doing stat of the game first? Yeah, stat of the game. Let's do stat of the game. Stat of the game, 22 turnovers versus the Brooklyn Nets. That is the most that they have had this year. So here we go. Of the 1,000 or so games played across the league so far this season, that's a lot of games. This was only the 31st time the winning team had 22 or more turnovers. They had 17 turnovers attributed to players, meaning that 5 were on shot clock violations. Not great, leading to the Nets taking 10 more shots. Fourth time the Knicks have been down double digits in field goal attempts this season. That is their most unheralded superpower, is the fact that the Knicks always take more shots than their opposition because A, they don't turn it over, and B, they get offensive rebounds. So, and they leaned away from that tonight. Good stat by our stat of the game guy, Jonah Kaufman. And let's do defensive player of the game. Defensive player of the game, shout out to none other than Jordan Clarkson. Well-earned honor for Jordan Clarkson. Gets to wear the hard hat. Looking good. Do we have any smiles? There's some smiles. All right. Hey, look, they won. Enjoy the win. I have no problem with it. And then that moves Jordan. Shout out to New York basketball for keeping track of this. The fact that Jordan Clarkson is tied for 5th on the defensive player of the game leaderboard for the year, that's pretty wild. I mean, I guess it's not that wild when you look at the 4 guys that are ahead of him: OG, Mitch, Josh, and McCall. I mean, the only one that you're surprised is not higher is Deuce, and that's because Deuce hasn't played nearly as many basketball games. So I guess, but look, credit to JC, man. If you would have asked me to set an over under for how many defensive player of the game wins the Jordan Clarkson would have this season, I probably would have set it at 1.5. And I think I would have taken the under. So credit to him for getting his 3rd one tonight. And then last but not least, what put me in the mood? What put me in the mood tonight? Let's see here. I will go with a nice challenge at the start of the 4th quarter. Challenges don't put me in the mood, though. You know, how about Mitchell Robinson putting his finger in, who was that? Danny Wolf's chest or whatever it was. Mitchell Robinson getting a tech, that put me in the mood tonight. I loved it. Do not fuck with Mitch or you will pay the price. So shout out to Mitchell Robinson for putting me in the mood, and shout out to mood.com, where you can go use the code KFS and get 20% off of your first order. Mood.com, of course, helps you discover your perfect mood, not the generic cannabis gummies that you are used to. These are functional gummies, again, to put you in just the right mood. Again, go to mood.com. Use that code KFS for 20% off your first order. Okay. Let us get to the home stretch. Bill Peterfriend, your top 10 grossly underrated Coco Melon. It's not higher because it's been actually many years since I've had to listen to Coco Melon. Thank the good Lord. I don't know what I did right in a past life, or I guess maybe this life. My younger daughter I don't think was ever really into Coco Melon. Maybe when she was like under a year old, and she just turned 5. So it's been a while, but you're right. There is nothing more painful than having to sit and listen to Coco. It is absolute, like, in the 7th circle of hell, like Coco Melon is absolutely playing on the television. Thanks, Bill. Hannah, what we got here? Weverka. What's going on, Hannah? First time, long time. Thank you for contributing to the show and for checking it out. Hart being out 2 of the last 4 reminds me of the soulless 2-9 stretch, or reminds me that the soulless 2-9 stretch started while he had an ankle sprain. Great call by you. Another contender for our chat of the night. Responsible as anyone for the bad Golden State Warrior game, but still. Yes, absolutely. Look, Josh Hart has become such a divisive figure in Knicks land, and I defend him as vehemently as I do because I feel as if he has been unfairly made out to be a divisive figure. Not to say that he is a perfect player. He is a highly imperfect player, which, oh, by the way, is part of the reason why 60 million, 40 million, 40 million, 40 million, 20 million. You get what you pay for. If Josh Hart didn't have the certain parts of his skill set that were missing from the picture, guess what? He'd be another $40 million a year player. But the fact that he gives you so much that you can depend on, and just is kind of a failsafe in a lot of ways, and lets you know when he's there, and when he's right, when he's going right. That's the thing. It's not, and in fairness, he has not always been right. But I also think for him, it's a physical thing a lot too, as you bring up, But when he's physically right and he's going correct, that there's really nobody else on the roster who can approximate what he does. So great shout out by you, Hannah. Okay. Chris Carter, what's going on, brother? I don't ever want to talk about this game again. It's fine by me. I don't want to think about this game again. I don't want to talk about this game again. I'm apparently going on with Fred tomorrow for his for Cats and Shoot, and he texted me in the middle of the game about another gimmick that we're gonna do, because he's like, I'm done talking about these freaking games against tanking teams. Thanks, Chris. Hush Zoo with another one. Thanks, Hush. The past 2 months of JB has largely been rough. While giving him some grace, I can't help but feel the small guard regression is slowly arriving. It might be an overreaction. It might be an overreaction. It might not be an overreaction. 30 used to be I don't want to get, again, I really don't want to get super depressing on the pod, but hold on. So let me pull up a good list here. So small guards, but it's so tough. How are you supposed to, Nate Archibald? How am I supposed to compare Nate Archibald, who started his career in fucking 1970, with Jalen Brunson? I don't really know how you do that, but he suffered a devastating injury in his age 29 season, and then he was kind of turned into a slightly different player, not as much of the scorer that he was, but he was a very successful player, on Boston. Obviously, Allen Iverson comes to mind. Allen Iverson, needless to say, was one of one, and there will never be another Iverson. But when it started to fall off, it started to fall off in a big way. Chris Paul was such a genius passer, but Chris Paul used to be a guy who could give you 30, at the drop of a hat like it was nothing. And then he morphed his game as he went along, and he was always a valuable piece because of, again, the defense, the smarts, the passing, the everything. That's not really Brunson's game. Man, it's not a lot of all-time small guards. I mean, Isaiah, obviously, that's an easy one. But that was knees. Brunson. That's the thing. Brunson, we don't know of any significant physical ailments that Brunson has. I mean, he's banged up, but we don't know specifically like what, does he have like an ankle issue or something like that? We don't really know. And then you could think about, guys like freaking Steve Francis and like Jameer Nelson and, we could go on and on down the list. Like there's Kemba. There's guys, and you just hope that not to say that it'd be unrealistic to expect that Jalen Brunson is going to continue to be able to do what he does until he's 35. I think what you hope is that the combination of shooting and intelligence, and craft and guile continues to make him a valuable player. And, if there is if he can morph into a place, again, I hope it's here in New York where he no longer has to be the best player on the team. I'm sure that'll help too. Okay. Thanks, Hush. Dr. Funky Stein, great name. At Barclays tonight, spent the game yelling, ew, but a win is a win. A win is a win, Dr. Funky Stein. Good job by you. KB and Andor, no jokes tonight. Prayers up to Cat and his family. Yes. Again, we don't know any of the specifics. We know that something's going on, I think, with his dad. But, hope everything's okay, and that's all we really care about. Husing Hayes? Let's go with that. I asked you Bridges to the Knicks before it happened. You told me the Nets will not trade him to us, and you were so excited about the idea. What the F happened? Look, I was drinking the same Kool-Aid I think a lot of people were. I'm not above drinking the occasional cup of Kool-Aid, putting the Nova 4 together. And which is why, I've said this before, the night of the cat trade, all I could think of that night was Dante and how we were never going to get to watch those four guys together. What happened, though? I think his time with the Nets, in which he put an idea not only in my head and the heads of a lot of people, he put this idea in a lot of people's heads that like maybe he could be something closer to not a number 2 on a championship level team, but like a 2A on a championship level team, or a 2B, right? I guess, no, 2B on a championship level team. Because he did, again, the efficiency dropped off, but like he looked the part kind of, right? Of a guy who could have the ball a lot and do some stuff. And I think when the Knicks gave up what they gave up, one, I don't know if they fully thought through like, okay, what role is this person who once finished second in Defensive Player of the Year voting? What role is he actually going to have on our defense that's going to make him this valuable? He was not in that role last year. He's been in more of that role this year. And I think he's had a fine defensive season. It's really the offense. And the fact that it is a little nuts when you think about the fact that this guy, after he was traded for Kevin Durant, went to Brooklyn and averaged 26. Think about it. Say that out loud. Averaged 26 points a game for 27 games. I understand they stunk. Actually, they didn't even stink that bad. They went to the playoffs. Like they were a quick out, and like Joel Embiid ate them for lunch, but like they did go to the playoffs. He averaged 26 points a game for 27 games on not like atrocious efficiency. He had a 54 effective field goal percentage. Like that's really good. Dropped off a little bit the following year, and like you saw a fuller sample, but even the following year, 82 games, averaged 20 points a game. 37% from three. More self creation there. 7.2 3-point attempts per game in that second season in Brooklyn. Like, he showed stuff, and he was entering his age 28 season. I don't think it was unreasonable to look at what he had shown already and think, man, there's maybe put this guy on another winning team, give him a little bit more to do than he had in Phoenix. Maybe he's ready for a little bit more to do now. Put him with his college teammates, the whole thing, and it it has not added up the way that they would have liked it to add up. He's averaging under 15 points a game. It's pretty nuts. Thanks for the super chat. By the way, this currency is out of the UAE. What is that, United Arab Emirates? Oh, awesome. Well, shout out to you. Thanks for watching from halfway across the world. We appreciate it. Knicks Film School travels. Kevin Danishevsky with another one. 53 win pace. Shout out to Robert Cross. Only took 5 years for Robert's wish to come true. I'll cop to being wrong. Hart deserves to be a starter. Would go Miles for McCall. You mean Deuce? I don't look. Kevin, if Mike Brown said tomorrow he was benching Josh for Landry, he was benching Josh for fucking Jose, Mo, Mitch, bench McCall for any of those guys. I'm up for anything just to try it at this point. It's just I don't to continue to say and believe that they will snap out of this when the playoffs start just feels foolish. It feels foolish to me. So, yeah, what do they have to go to get to 53 wins? They are 46-25, so they got to go 7-4? I mean, 53 was my preseason prediction. Can they go 7? I mean, yeah, of course they go 7-4. Got Washington. I'm telling you that New Orleans game is going to be tough. New Orleans is playing good ball. And then if they could win both of those, then you just got to go 5-4 against a tough slate. Memphis keeps playing hard. You do have the Bulls. Yeah. We'll see. It's going to be tough. I think they're going to end up at 53. Thanks, Kev. True statement. What's going on? Knicks own the second tiebreaker against Boston for the divisional wins. Yeah, I heard them say that on the broadcast today. Another positive for tonight. Here's why not that I don't care. All of this stuff matters. Here's why I'm not going crazy about that, or I didn't even bring it up tonight. The division tiebreaker only comes into play if they tie the season series, and the only way they tie the season series is if they lose to Boston in the third to last game of the season. And I think if they lose to Boston in the third to last game of the season, I just don't see a way that they are going to finish with as many wins as Boston. Just again, very quick standings update. Boston won tonight. They are a game and ahead of the Knicks. So the one thing is they have 12 games left to play. The Knicks only have 11 games left to play. And then, Boston, I don't want to spend too long on this. So here's what Boston. We're gonna learn these next 1, 2, 3, 5. We're gonna know if the Knicks could catch the Celtics by what the Celtics do in these next 5 games. Minnesota on Sunday, then OKC in Boston, Atlanta in Boston, at Charlotte, at Atlanta, at Miami. So 6 games. That's where I think Boston, realistically, for us to catch them, I think we have to beat them in that third to last game of the season, and I think they have to go 3-3 probably in these games, because after that it's at Milwaukee. They're redefining what it means to quit. Then they got Toronto. I mean, they could lose to Toronto, I guess. Then they got Charlotte at home. which Charlotte's playing well. And then they got the Knicks game, and then they finished with New Orleans and Orlando. I got to think by that time, New Orleans is going to be sitting all their guys. And see, the last game of the season against Orlando, we'll see. Orlando might have something to play for then. So I don't know. Maybe they don't need to go 3-3 in these next 6. Maybe they go 4-2 in these next 6. I think if they go 3-3 in the last 6, then I'll have some real optimism for the 2 seed. Thanks, true statement. And then we got a couple from OG Team. Thanks, OG Team. Brunson got to be the only top-tier player without a legit second ball handler. You can trust to bring the ball up the court 90 feet and initiate offense. I mean, Hart's the closest one. Alvarado had trouble getting the ball up tonight. I mean, that's the second time that's happened in 3 games, I think, where he had the ball. He was like dribbling the air out of the ball and then was trying to get her out of screen. Now, Mitch was called for the offensive foul on this one, but like he needed Mitch to come set a hard screen because he just couldn't get anywhere, couldn't initiate the offense. You know, that's a problem. And I would say bring Kolek in, but Kolek had the same issues. It's a problem. It's an absolute problem, and it was a problem that Bridges was supposed to help solve. Hasn't happened. Another one from OG Team. I need Macau or a Macau rant from you, Macri. Bless our ears. I think I kind of did before. It was not my intention. You know, they were saving that package for so long, you know, and you knew in the moment, and here's, you know, I don't think I've ever said this before. Many have said, we said that night, it's an overpay. I said it on the live stream that we were at a town hall. We stopped the town hall and did the live stream. And we said in the moment, it's an overpay. But what were you overpaying for? It's not that you were overpaying for a player. Let me rephrase that. Why were you overpaying for a player that in a vacuum, the talent, the skill set does not equate to that many, the opportunity cost of that many picks? That's the key. It's not about the picks. It's about the opportunity cost. Why were you willing to send out that package for that player, knowing that player was not a superstar or even a star level player? You were willing to overpay for consistency. You were willing to overpay for certainty. That night in and night out, he's going to check all the basic boxes that you need. Or, you know, whatever. 8 out of 10 nights or something. And that's the part that's so frustrating. You know, we have moved past the, Macau had a bad game tonight, everyone's going to throw the 5 picks in his face. That's really unfair because he only had one bad game. We're past that. It is a level of inconsistency. And again, it's not inconsistency with the little things. We know he does the little things, and I'm not trying to belittle that. It is a level of inconsistency in an area that they need him to be better at. You know? That's all that it is. Thanks, OG Team. True Genius, what's going on? I'd feel a little bit better if I knew Macau was kicking over $5 million a year each to Shamit, Mitch, and Deuce. Yeah, I don't think it works like that, unfortunately. But thanks, True Genius. Robert Cross. Oh, hello, Robert. First time, long time. It's your boy, John. My opinion is the rest of these games is a barometer of absolutely nothing. You might be right. I don't know. There's no way to know. Truly, there is no way to know. whether any of this stuff means anything. I know Boston keeps winning. Boston's won 4 games in a row. I know they're trying to chase Boston. And I know if they want to catch Boston, they got to keep winning games. That's all I know for sure. I don't really know anything else for sure. All right, last one from Mr. Danishevsky, who closes us out. Hope you're having a lovely Friday, by the way, Kevin. Your JB rant makes me think that no matter what, we're going all in on Giannis. Was that a rant? I don't think that was a JB rant. The Mikal one was a rant. The JB one wasn't a rant. He might need to be a 2 for self-preservation down the road. He was in Dallas. Kevin, if they don't win the championship this year, I think they're going all in on Giannis anyway. I'd put the odds of, if they do not win the championship, there is over a 50% chance, I would say, that they try to do everything they can. I don't really want to have a Giannis conversation right now. I was thinking about it earlier today, just reading Eric Neem's article on how this team is just completely quit and they lost by 32 to the tanking Jazz. And I am going to give myself a small pat on the back. When the rumors resurfaced in December, part of the reason I was like not optimistic that the Knicks would like be able to get something done or whatever, like before the deadline, I always thought that was a long shot. But part of my calculation is to like, maybe like don't close the door on this trade happening in season, is because I was like, well, now that this thing is blown up in their face and it clearly is not working, I would think that the Bucks would probably want to get off of Miles Turner's money, because all of a sudden that money is not looking so great. And I kept hearing, when people would talk about Turner and whether they would want to keep Turner, this and that, or like the notion that like Miles Turner was still a positive asset. And I'm like, the only universe in which he was a positive asset was to get Giannis to try to stay. He was never worth the money that they paid him. It was a silly thing to do at the time. And then since then, he's only like Miles Turner's impact has only gone down. So it'll be interesting when the Bucks, cross this Rubicon again in the summer, how much, if any, because it might not, how much, if any, of their priorities will be tied up in, I don't want to say cleaning up their own cap sheet, but like getting off a Turner, getting off a Kuzma. Because if they really try to make like the other stuff that they're like, we insist if you're taking Giannis or if you get Giannis, you also have to take this other stuff. Again, I have no idea what they do. That's not the direction that I would take if I was them, but I have no idea. Like Milwaukee at this point, the Bucks, last thing I'll say on this, the Bucks organization at this point has proven nothing else other than the fact that they are not rational actors. And that may be partially from ownership. Like at this point, the fact that they did not trade this guy last summer and how so much of a miscalculation that was to think that like Dame trade was a good idea, or the Dame, wave and stretch was a good idea with the Turner, and then this was the team that they thought was going to win 49 games and like make it to the finals. It looks so silly. You have to ask yourself how much of it was just a mandate from ownership that like, we're not trading Giannis, so you do whatever the fuck you got to do to try to put the best possible team around him this year, and we'll worry about tomorrow. So if you're not dealing with rational actors, maybe part of their calculation moving forward is like, no, we don't want to bottom out. We don't have any of our picks. Let's try to get some other team's picks, and let's try to continue to put a competitive product on the floor, because we don't want to go through, 3 or 4 years of, 20 wins or whatever the case may be. Especially if the NBA is going to do anything to adjust the tanking rules, which could be an interesting subplot in this whole thing. So lots of considerations. I spent longer on it just now than I wanted to, but let's get through this season first, and then we'll worry about tomorrow. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. Chat of the night. David and Hannah are two contenders. Hannah, I love you. Thank you for being a first time, long time. I do have to give this one to David, and David has been a unsung hero of this program for literally years, and he has quite literally never had a chat to the show that has been anything other than superb and thoughtful and insightful. So it's a tie, and the tie goes to the guy who's been doing this for a lot of years. So shout out to you, David. David, shoot me an email at Knicks Film School. I'm pretty sure I probably do have your email somewhere, but just humor me. Email me at knicksfilmschool@gmail.com. We'll get you your winnings. And congratulations again. Shout out to Fanatics Sportsbook for putting up $25 in fan cash for chat of the night. Don't forget about tailing the Knicks Film School Best Bets Parlay that is in the Fanatics Sportsbook app before every game. And don't forget, of course, support the show. If you dig what we do here in any of the ways that you support the content that you love, including following us on social media at Knick Film School, SKOOL, where you could leave reviews, ratings, follow, subscribe, all of the stuff. We appreciate it all. I think that's it. Shout out to Mark on the ones and twos tonight, giving up his Friday evening. We very much appreciate your service, Mark. And that's it. We'll talk to you all guys when we talk to you. Peace out.
Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See the Fanatics Sportsbook app.